Hello. So for Booksmas Day 14, we have a new book that has launched just yesterday, and the book is named Our Small Lives. I'm going to leave the book cover here, and the book is written by one of the newest authors, but I really loved reading the book, and her name is Sehr Emaad. So Seher's book talks about a religious marriage. Young girls who are trusted really early in marriage. As soon as they turn 20, they are thrust into a arranged marriage. The book is about a girl that comes from a minority subset in Pakistan named Ahmadiyya community. So this girl, her name is Sarah. Sarah is young. Sarah is 22 when she gets married, and Sarah is forced to leave where she lives, her home country, to go to US. So Sarah is not only leaving her home country where she has lived since she was a child in Pakistan, but she has to move to US because her parents arrange a marriage from a US based person because of the problems that she had to face. I mean, their community is kind of ostracized in their country, and she had to leave her own country to go and live in US. The story follows her then living in Cambridge, that's in somewhere around Boston. So Sarah is a very intelligent young woman. She reads, she has this avid interest of reading, but the book follows her in a tumultuous marriage. Yeah, so the book follows her inner tumultuous fighting with herself and her innermost thoughts about being married to a person who's not really in, how do I say, considerate of her. I mean, he's not completely inconsiderate of her, but he's like a very controlling person. He's kind of a narcissist. From when you read, you get that he's a little bit of a narcissist. He only thinks about himself. He only cares about his privilege of being a man, his opinions and thoughts coming first than hers. Even her mother-in-law is very domineering when she visits Sarah in US, and she compares everything to how it's in her home country in Lahore. And the mother-in-law is just trying to create problems, and she makes like this gender stereotypical uh, backward, how do I say, like comments like you should have been if you were a darker woman, if you had darker skin, my family, we wouldn't have chosen you for our Asfan, who's this great guy who's working at a huge firm, and he's making so much money. If you only had darker skin, then we would have not chosen you. Since you have whiter skin, we have chosen you, so please treat him well, please feed him well. And she's always like, my son is getting thinner, like all desi mothers are basically. So her mother-in-law is only there to make things difficult for them, and she doesn't really aid their marriage in a way that solves their problems or something, gives them advice, sits them down, gives them two pence on how to go about their problems, since they are drifting away once they move to US. But she's more worried about why Sarah is not having kids, why isn't she giving them a hair or a male hair, things like that. And whenever she calls Sarah, she's asking her, have you gotten the good news yet? Have you saw a doctor or something, things like that, like a typical desi mother. And Sarah feels like, why was she born in a country like that, when where she's living right now there's so much independence, freedom. She thinks about the ideals of freedom. She thinks about the ideals of freedom in US, where people have to just think about getting ahead in their career to become a lawyer or to doctor or a, I don't know, president of US, things like that, and they do not have to worry about things like religion and spouses, and they do not have to be, like, how do I say, pulled back in a sense, like they are being restrained from being their best self or going after their dreams. And what dreams she can possibly have now that now she's married. In order to fill her lonely hours, she takes up a job in the nearby area in a bookstore called the Harvard Bookstore, and this bookstore gives her peace, gives her stability. It is the only friend she has in her life. She doesn't have any close friends. She has a colleague, but she's not that close to her, since we do not get anything like that in the book. She literally has no one, and since her husband is so controlling, he doesn't really give her any space to make friends or to go out, and neither does he encourage her, as you can see that in the book. He wants her to be modern, but he also wants her to be this, muted woman, this completely, how do I say, like, controlled woman. But he also expects her to dress modern, to go out with him in parties and drink and be the life of the party. And this man is very hypocritical. He doesn't aid in her growth. So all Sarah has is books, so she reads and reads and reads. So a little bit ahead in the book, her life just goes on being lonely and kind of feeling depressed, fighting with herself, has no one to go to. uh, she's not really depressed, but you can see that she's very lonely. And what happens later in the book is she meets this another person, Ali. This guy, he changes his name to Ali. His name is Kunal. She meets him. She gets to know him. He's the South Asian man, I mean an Indian man of very liberal values. He decides to marry her and give her support. And first he converts, and that Sarah is not expecting him to do. She's like, why would he do that for a middle-aged woman like me? Because since the book starts, she's 22, and the book, by the time she meets Kunal, she has turned 44. That's like 20 years have passed by without Aswan showing her any affection, emotion, or consideration. So when Ali Kunal, who changes his name to Ali after conversion, when he uh, offers marriage, she takes it up and they settle down in Cambridge, and she becomes happier. You see her going from a very timid woman who doesn't really have anything going in her life to become this outward, extrovert woman who's giving her husband, uh, feedback on his new book, and just being happier in general. And the most like life changing moment in the book is when she decides that, oh, I'm gonna take charge of my life now. And that's when she does. And you see this growth of a person. The character development is really nice. uh, I think Asfan's character could have been explained more, but all he comes out as is like a sociopath, to be honest. Like, the guy is very hypocritical. I couldn't figure him out. And Kunal is this really amazing man. This book also talks about some issues about the minority subset. Like, why had Sarah had to live in such an oppressing environment, and things that happened to her as a kid. And all in all, the book is a really nice read. I read a reviewer's copy of the book and I really liked it, and so I had to review it for Booksmas. And I know it's a different kind of book from what I normally review, but a reviewer's copy was sent to me, so I had to make it for you guys. And uh, it's just newly launched on Amazon. So if you have a KTP subscription, go read that book and tell me what you thought about the book in the comment section. I will be waiting for your feedback, and that's all I have for you now. Bye.